The first cuts are in for the Utah Mammoth. We'll break it down for you and the priority shift in training camp this week on today's Locked On Mammoth.
You are Locked On Mammoth, your daily podcast on the Utah Mammoth, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome into Locked On Mammoth. I'm veteran NHL voice Tom Callahan, joined by longtime team analyst Robin Leaño, and together we're the dynamic duo that brings you Locked On Mammoth each and every single day. Thanks for making us your first listen when it comes to the Utah Mammoth hockey team. Had a great week of feedback, breaking it down. A lot of folks in the comments, very appreciative of that, and we knew this day was coming. The first cuts are in, so we're going to talk about that, and nothing major, but we do need to run through the cuts. But more importantly, Robin, we're going to run through the priorities. We're going to talk about that. And oh, by the way, if you want a jersey, we're going to tell you when. Stick around to the end of the show for that. But first and foremost, Robin, I don't think there's any huge surprises on the cut down list, except for to say that I'm actually a little surprised there were so few names on it. Only 6 people. 2 of them were released from tryout agreements. Forwards Coster Dunn and Carson Hammer. They're going to go back to their team, Seattle and Saginaw, respectively, in the CHL. And then 4 more players assigned to their junior clubs: Ludwig Lafton, Thomas Lavoie, Max Sinichka, and Vithi Weissnen are all reassigned to their junior teams. I'm a little surprised, Robin, that is all they did, was move 6 junior kids out. I actually figured there were more cuts coming. Especially after you got 3 games.
It's interesting, Tom, because usually after around 3 games, which for this is at this point it's like a third of the way through through preseason, I was gonna say they're probably gonna cut it in half, right? We're gonna see we're gonna see like a mass cut, but we only saw this, and you're right. It was an interesting choice.
It was a little surprising to me in that I felt like here's why. I'll articulate my probably my biggest reason. You're in a camp right now with a lot of players, and you've already said one of your biggest priorities is to try to teach this system to everybody there. And you have a lot of new people. There's a lot of new faces. They have to grab onto this system as fast as they can. If you want to make the argument for keeping everybody up and teaching them, okay, but my argument goes the other way. I would argue to cut it down to have a more concise roster of players you think are really legitimately going to be there for you come final cut downs, so that they can get on the path right away. Because what we saw in the first couple of games, and Robin, it showed they spent 1 day on offense, 1 day on defense, 1 day on special teams, and then, hey, let's play a game. This is their week to teach. They were off Tuesday, so Wednesday when the show's dropping, they're back to practice. They play Thursday, and then they'll have either an off day or a practice day Friday, depending on how things shake out. But Robin, there's not a lot of time to learn these systems. Am I off base here, wanting to teach it to fewer players?
It's interesting because I feel like there's at least some level of, it seems like a sound thing, right? It seems that, it makes sense because you want to be able to get the right system to the right people, because the ones you expect that are going to be a part of the system sooner, or hopefully today. Obviously not all of them are going to get there today, but you want to at least get that in their head, whether or not, maybe where they're going to go to Tucson, maybe they're only a year away, whatever it might be, is you still want to get that, you still want to get it in their head. But we're at the point in which, you need to get it cut down. You still need to get it cut down.
And I'm not saying to send away the Boot or a Ginla or Baudouin or
they can be later. Yeah,
right. And they may make the team, right? The way things are going. But I don't know. I mean, have you seen enough? And not that I dislike Perunovic. I thought he looked just fine. Didn't get a lot of action, though. You know what I mean? Is he in your plans? Is Onyebuchi in your plans? Do you think you're going to need him to fight some more guys? And if you do, okay, I get keeping him around. Kevin Connaughton. These guys. you're keeping them around, and we haven't even really gotten a look at some of the other players yet. And of course, I know there's injuries that can be a mitigating circumstance, but I don't know. I guess I'm just surprised by this, Robin. I really am. I thought there'd be more names coming out, and actually, I thought they would have come out yesterday as opposed to today. And it's only reassigning kids to junior. Nobody's really been cut. That's the other thing. Nobody's actually been cut.
I guess maybe with the exception of those two ATOs, but even then, they were ATOs. They were really, if we're being honest, if you're on an ATO, most of the time you're out there like as filler to kind of help fill teams fill a team in a preseason where needed.
I want to tell you how ATOs work, but I first have to tell you today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Robin, I'll give you a little insider glance for our everydayers, for our newbies, everybody coming in. Thank you so much. We do appreciate you, and we appreciate you subscribing to the show. Thank you. The way an ATO works a lot of times is, I guess a favor is one way you could put it, but coaches, GMs, scouts will make and receive phone calls on behalf of players they really believe in. So in the case of a Coster Dunn or a Carson Harmer, somebody made a phone call to the Mammoth and said, I believe in this player. You should bring him into camp and take a look at him. Now, this is not somebody they drafted. An ATO means they're undrafted, and it's a tryout. That's what the TO part of it is, in this case, amateur tryout. So a lot of times those are favors to other coaches, or, if the Saginaw coach calls and said, you need to take a look at Carson, I think he could be a fit down the road for you guys. Okay, well, you bring him in. You're not losing anything. You're not signing him to a contract, but a lot of times that's what those ATOs are, is they're kind of a favor or a relationship at work that sometimes it pans out, but a lot of times it's just kind of a nod to the guy that and try to help him out.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always that way. It's like, hey, I think you'll like this guy. That's what we see in a lot of those situations. What you'll also tend to see is a lot more common down in the American Hockey League level. I'm going to talk about the Roadrunners in a little bit later in the show, but as someone that's covered the Roadrunners for long enough, by the way, I would tell you, the amount of times I've seen whenever Roadrunner training camp came around, they was always talking about this player is on an ATO because they're given their shot. This is their first shot into their first glimpse into professional hockey.
Now, why do these matter? I have a baseball story to tell you why. And this is kind of like, the baseball draft used to be approximately 3,500 rounds. Okay. So by the time you get to round 3,499,
is it not still?
Yeah, it might still be. But by the time you get into that 3,000th round, nobody's really paying attention, and you're just kind of picking people up. So Tommy Lasorda was the manager of the Dodgers at the time and knew this player's father. And the player's father asked Lasorda as a favor, hey, would the Dodgers please draft my kid? So they did. Well, that kid went on to not only make the big leagues, but become a legitimate bona fide star as a thank you pick just to somebody's dad. Robin, do you have any idea who this might have been?
I don't know. Tell me.
Mike Piazza. Mike Piazza was drafted as a favor to his dad by Tommy Lasorda. That's why you bring guys in on an ATO, because you just never know.
I would always love hearing the stories of how, for some reason, like it's an NHL player or an NFL player, whoever getting drafted by an MLB team just because they're like, what about this guy? Like, they seem like a good athlete. Let's just draft him.
Yeah. And sometimes it works that way. And sometimes you find a needle in a haystack. It happens. So that's why you got to take it seriously all the way through the 7th round. You never know who's going to pan out. So, you know what? We need to talk about priorities, Robin. I want to talk about the priorities of this week for the Mammoth in practice, in the games. What has to be the 1, 2, and 3 bullets for this team. And then stay tuned. We do have a Mammoth jersey update coming your way. Today's show brought to you by FanDuel. Hey, the NFL season is here, and FanDuel's making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. The reason I think FanDuel's great is because it fits however you want to bet, whether it's the player props, whether it's building that same game parlay, or even kind of jumping in. Some games, look, if you're watching a blowout, you might want to hop over to the game that's close or tied in the closing minutes, and you can do that with FanDuel because it's quick, it's easy, and it's the best way to add a little more energy to your Sundays. Are you ready to play right now? Download the FanDuel app by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Tom Callahan, Robin Leaño here with you, Locked On Mammoth. Please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. If I didn't snag you about 5 minutes ago, I'll try to snag you again one more time here. Robin and I appreciate the support, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's wherever you get your podcasts. We are widely available, Apple, Google, iHeart, all over the place. I use an app called CastBox. I can get us through there, no problem. You can also ask your personal device, your portable assistant, your whatever. I'm not going to say anybody's name because I know we all get annoyed when it goes off when we don't want it to, but you can ask them to play the latest episode of Locked On Mammoth, and that also works out just fine. So
and as a thank you, we got some fun stuff planned your way pretty soon too. So
yes, we absolutely do. It's going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to we'll talk about it once it's shored up. Discussions are ongoing this week, so once we have it laid out, we'll let you know. Robin, priorities. Let's go ahead and put our GM hats on, our head coach hats on right now. We have the Mammoth roster. I'll start with you. Give me one bullet point you think has got to be one of their top 3 things this team is focusing on in practice, in the game. What is important right now?
That's a good question. I mean, that's a good question because
I know it's hard to narrow down.
It is really hard to narrow down.
But let's try to coalesce a top 3 here.
I mean, one of the things that I say it's the biggest, I guess, one of the biggest cop outs of an answer, but it's also a valid thing to point out is talking about how like how much at the moment that a player is fitting into the Bill Armstrong style. Because there are some that still might have some work to do.
So for those who don't know, the GM Bill Armstrong prototypical bold has been big, physical, wants a team to play.
And not only just big and physical, but this is the reason why like so many people were talking about like your guys like for example, like we talked about how we've been trying to hype up Caleb Benoye, even though he hasn't been in camp because of injury and whatever. But it's big and physical, but also very good skating. They can't it has to be both, right? It can't just be one. It can't just be the big and physical. Bill Armstrong wants someone who's big, physical, and can skate.
And there are on the team like these dipsy doodle skill guys who can skate, can shoot, can put the puck in the net. And yes, you need those guys. But Robin, you bring up an interesting question because it's one that really bears examining. Is this team trying to serve 2 masters? Are they trying on one hand to play a fast, skilled, up-tempo style of game? And then on the other hand, are they drafting to try to play a physical, grinding sort of game? And do they not meet? Do they not gel? Is that part of the reason the Mammoth haven't seen success? I think that is something that is absolutely worth exploring. That could be a whole show unto itself.
I mean, that is a fantastic question. I think, and as a initial answer to that, it's a yes and no. I feel like if you play your cards correctly, this team can have for example, your skill line, right? If you're talking about having like your a Paterka Cooley Gunther together, right? A absolute high flying, super quick skill line. Okay, cool. You got that going. And then, of course, your example, you took a look at your bottom 6, and those guys are physical. Those guys can skate too. There's a reason why they brought in Brandon Tanev, right? Not only is he big and physical, but he's nicknamed the Turbo for a reason, right? Because he can skate.
Right.
So you bring those guys in together. Plus, also your first line could also be like not necessarily bigger and physical, but still kind of fit into like your half step, right? You're like some of your best players, but at the same time, they're the experienced ones. They're the ones that kind of help set the tone.
And this is where it might be a difficult job coalescing those players as a coach or as a coaching staff to get, how do I get the skill guys to play physical and the physical guys to play skill, and how do I get it all to mesh, or can I just not accomplish that?
It's an interesting thing, and to me, how they execute this season is something that I am heavily paying attention to, Tom. Right? How they execute it, because maybe there could be something where it's so hard to get the message across when you have different groups like that. And that's why I feel like this training camp is that much more important to find those guys who are much closer to that kind of system. And there's a reason why Ginla is getting so much hype, because he's a physical guy, right? He's not afraid to put his body up there.
He could potentially be a guy who really changes the tenor, like the tone and the shape of this Mammoth.
And that's why
roster.
I want to see him. And that's why I want to see him get at the very least, his 9-game tryout, because I feel like he can really help set that tone.
Yeah, I believe that. I do. I want to see him in regular NHL action. Let's see how he does. Number 2, I'm going to throw number 2 out here, is, to me right now, more than the offense, which concerns me because they really haven't looked like they can score goals yet. But I am a firm believer in, if you keep the puck out of your own net, your opportunities will come. And so what concerns me more than the lack of scoring is the lack of keeping pucks out of the net. I would be stressing defense, capitalize on your opportunities, even into the early part of the season. If you're only allowing 0 or 1 goals, you should win pretty much every game. If you're allowing 2, 3 goals, now you got to scrap and fight and really outscore the other team. I already told you, I think offense in the league is a race to 3. That has not changed, and it hasn't changed for several seasons. But, Robin, I really feel like the focus needs to be on defense.
It does. I mean, how many times have we talked about it, right? And the thing is, it's not necessarily like how the defense plays, or at least blocks pucks in their own zone, but it's how the defense helps set up the offense, right? Because I have chewed everyone's ear off about this point, about getting the breakouts, and the defense is very important in setting up the breakouts. And if you make a simple mistake on those plays, we end up seeing turnovers that end up in a 3-on-1 scenario. And then where's the defense after that, right? They're gone. They don't exist.
Yep. And that's hard on your goaltenders. And the goalies got to get themselves rounded into shape. Want to see all that. That would certainly help if they get that one more save a game, which hopefully they do. But I just need to see something a little better defensively. That's got to happen. And then again, you know what? I'm going to kind of ignore offense, Robin. I really honestly feel like they got to get special teams going sooner than later, because that could win you and lose you hockey games, especially early on, because teams take more penalties early. They do. Just, I mean, look back over the last several seasons. You're not quite there yet. You're not quite sharp yet. You're taking more penalties in October than you are in January. And that's something that they need to capitalize on when they have the power play. But, Robin, that also means they're going to have to be busy on the kill.
Absolutely. But in that same vein, Tom, under the same breath, you also have, can't talk about special teams, especially on the penalty kill, without also saying that the team that one of the biggest priorities is staying out of the box. I mean, I don't mind those penalties that are necessary penalties, right? You take them because you feel like you have to. But I'm talking about the sloppy penalties. We're talking just like whether it's like a dumb interference or a delay of game or a too many men on the ice. Those simple fundamental ones that you just cannot do, and you cannot just gift them with the man advantage, because the more you do, the more you put the other team on the man advantage, the higher chance they have to score. And that's, I mean, it makes sense, right? That's unless you have a superstar penalty kill, but even then, right? A superstar penalty kill can only take you so far if you're on the man, if you are on the disadvantage for over half the game.
And that is where it is the mental mistakes, like the too many men penalties. We shook our heads at a lot of those last year, but also the physical mistakes, not moving your feet, not keeping up with the player. You get lazy, you reach out with the stick, that's a hooking call. You reach out with the arm, that's a holding call. Anytime you get that stick or that arm parallel 90 degrees to the ice, they're going to call it. And that is just something that you cannot do. Those are lack of effort penalties, and I hate that. Hustle penalties, effort penalties, saving a goal penalties, those are fine. We'll kill those off all day long. I just don't want to see a lack of effort. So, but you know what I don't want to see a lack of? Utah Mammoth jerseys. I want to tell you, Robin, how you're going to get that Sparkles 91 jersey, because the jerseys are in ... soon. All right, back here locked on Mammoth as we wrap things up with a jersey update. So this question actually started off training camp. Chris Armstrong was asked when he thought the jerseys would be in. He said, well, I can tell you for sure, opening night, but we're hopeful to have them in before that. Robin, we now have an official day where the jerseys will be ready.
Let's go.
You can get into the store, and it just maybe conveniently coincides with the team's first preseason game at the Delta Center at 7 o'clock against the LA Kings. Yes, that's right. Available for purchase October 2nd. So October 2nd, the jerseys, they will have both home and away. And they say a variety of adult sizes. So I don't see anything about kids' jerseys here yet, but adult sizes starting at 11 a.m. Mountain Time at the team store exclusively, only the team store inside Delta Center. And of course, you can buy them online, NHLshop.com and MammothTeamStore.com. But if you want to get your mitts on it, 11 a.m. that day. If you're going to the game, I honestly probably would not wait. I would make a trip on your lunch hour and head on down to the team store and be there at 11, because I think they're going to go quick.
If anybody wants to get me a customized Robin Sparkles 91 Utah Mammoth jersey, I'm a size small.
Nice. You're just throwing it out there.
Just throwing it out there. If anyone wants to gift, I won't say no.
I'm gonna leave that there. Leave that right there. I have to say, I think the jerseys look sharp. I think the look is nice. I actually still like the white jerseys. I know a couple of people were talking about, I don't know if I like the Utah and the white jerseys. I like that as
I like them.
A road team. I like having the identifier on it.
The black is so crisp on those homes.
Yes, it does look very good. So again, adult sizes only. That's the other thing. So keep that in mind. You'll have to buy a smaller and extra small for your little one to grow into, I guess. But they'll look cute doing it, right?
Oh, yeah.
There you go. And you'll have the jersey for several seasons to come, no matter how many, nacho cheese and ketchup stains it ends up with on it or whatever. So that'll happen. Ranch, all it's just whatever. It's a jersey. Wear it, enjoy it, love it. We're looking forward to that. So tomorrow's episode, we are going to preview the Vegas Golden Knights game, what's coming up there. Hopefully we have a little bit more of an idea on some of these injuries that have been day to day. We're waiting for reports on all those, and we will try to bring you as much of that as possible. But not only can you comment on the YouTube feed, but Robin, they can also reach out to us on social media. And if folks want to connect, where can they find us?
And you can find us everywhere on social media at Locked On Mammoth. That's at Locked On Mammoth. Primarily active over on Twitter/X. You can find us over there. You can also find me personally at Robin_Leaño.
And I'm on Blue Sky at Tom Talks, Twitter at Callahan on Air. Feel free to reach out and say hi anytime. We're around. So Robin is probably on a little more than I am. There are just times when I want to ignore my phone and pretend it doesn't exist. But
I'm pretty connected. Like I see things every day. I might not respond right away, but I always see everything every single day.
Yes, and we really appreciate each and every single comment. Thank you so much for reaching out and supporting us. And as always, for being a part of Locked On Mammoth.